Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to have Michael Muir with me again today. We've just had a nice little chat before we came on, and we've both recognized that there's been a big shift in consciousness recently. And we've been talking about how, even though things on the TV, on the news, may look disturbing and like we might not be making progress, that actually we are making a huge amount of inroads in terms of levels of consciousness. Anyway, before we go into that, Michael, how have you been doing? What have you been up to recently, and how are you feeling?
Oh, okay. Uh, Thanks for inviting me on, Michelle. Yeah, I've been a little bit busy, working with group work here in Australia, East Coast. So Sydney, Sunshine Coast, Queensland is where I'm living at the moment, and doing group work, one-on-one work, and it's really been anchoring in these new codes that are coming in. So working with diamond light codes, this new fine golden energy that's coming in. So it's been a lot as everybody's been feeling, these new codes that are coming in cosmically that we've been gifted from a lot of the solar activity as well, are really energizing our light bodies, I feel, also purifying density out of the cellular consciousness. So, we talked just before about the year of the snake this year, and it does feel like all this solar light that's coming in has really been forcing us to shed a lot of density, of patterning, pushing old patterns to the surface to sort of to work with and let go of. So we're kind of balancing this kind of agitated nervous system while we're still releasing a lot of old stuff and kind of I think what I've been noticing myself and with my clients is this in-between space. It's like this in-between one version of ourselves, and the old version doesn't really feel like us anymore. And yet there's no real new anchored in version yet. So we're kind of in this in-between place. And because I've got a lot of Aquarian energy, I can overthink it a little bit around, I guess, what does this all mean? Uh, but I think, yeah, so noticing that in myself and other people, so really trying to come out of the head, trying to come out of the figuring out of these energies and what they're sort of doing to the nervous system. Because sometimes when the energy shifts, it sort of feels like, um, that something comes over our energy field that feels different to normal because it's a different frequency. And then our body can, our cellular consciousness can see that as foreign or different. And then our nervous system gets freaked out. But if we can kind of step back a little and ground and allow it to move through without making too much meaning, I guess it will, um, settle. And that's what I've noticed. It was quite intense prior to the solstice weekend. I did a couple of Sydney events for the solstice, and the energy just really shifted into a lot more of a peaceful state after the solstice weekend. So I feel like we've sort of popped out into a new octave of light. Um, and obviously, there's a lot going on in the world, and that also plays into what's going on through the light influx. I think that the light that's coming in is forcing like a demolition of what no longer serves inwardly and systems of the earth, you know?
Well,
Mm.
that was that was very well explained because just going back to the Year of the Snake recording that I did, they
Mm.
were explaining to me that this was the year of disclosure because now
Mm.
old layering of both our physical body and organizational bodies around us,
Mm.
and people that are outside of us will
Yeah.
be exposed. Anything that no longer things can no longer be can stay hidden because as
Yeah.
skins come off, that what's behind them now becomes obvious to people. It becomes revealed. And this is
Yes.
getting us ready for next year, which is the year of the horse, when it's going to be a
Mm,
very fast year of integration, and
mm,
everything to be clean and cleared out at that point so we can make very
mm,
fast progress.
mm, 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 mm,
I think that people like you and me that hold the light, the nodes, as we're called,
mm, mm,
the reason that we find it difficult to see what's ahead is because we are the people that are at the front. We are
mm,
literally making the grid lines for the people
mm,
behind us. So that
mm,
can be
mm,
a little bit daunting because we're holding the line literally. We're making the inroads for people behind to come up and walk in our
mm,
literal
mm.
footprint, energetic footprint.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it can feel like, what you were saying, we're not going back that way, but hang on, where's the path up here?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We
Yeah,
are the path, and it's
yeah, yeah.
we are, as we were saying before we came on, it's an exhausting task because energetically you're holding that momentum for
Mm,
all the other people can come up behind us and follow behind and make progress as well. I was very interested about you talking about this golden mesh that you
ah,
in. I don't know if you see it or feel it, but you were saying that this energy of gold was coming in.
mm.
You explained it much better than I can, but I do understand what you're saying.
Um,
You could
so
clarify.
this is
Yeah.
thanks, Michelle. So this is something that came through at the solstice, the day after the solstice on the 22nd of June when I was doing a basically what I do is I hold a group space. I work with channeling energies in English and also in light language. Uh, 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 and the group holds the space as well, so it's not just me holding the container. And the group held space for a transmission called Solar Gold Transmission, and it was this. I never really know what's going to come through until I'm there doing the transmission, and it was this really beautiful, fine golden light. It wasn't something that I hadn't felt sort of sensory felt before, and it felt like it just came in through the etheric astral plane of our high chakras and in through into the physical and overlaid the light body, and I imagine it almost like the chain mail of a knight or a knight's armor. So it's sort of coming in. And it felt so beautiful and soft and subtle, but it also very cohesive and stabilizing. It's like it's got a stabilizing effect for the whole Shushumna, the whole chakra pillar, so that as nodes or as people that are light workers or starseeds, whatever you want to call yourself, that are holding space, healers, um, ordinary people doing their thing, holding space for others, um, then I feel like it's a bit of a bonus for us to sort of help hold ourselves more firmly and more anchored, just because there's a lot of turmoil in the collective field as things are kind of destructed out, intentionally so that we can create new systems. That does bring a bit of anxiety and fear to the collective field, and I feel like this is to help us stay sort of more anchored, calm, and peaceful during these sort of sometimes slightly eruptive times. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, the gold energy is something I work with for many years personally because that's the energy of angels. And
Mm,
so the golden energy is generally that energy of unconditional love. So
mm,
it would make sense because angels are obviously unconditional love. That's their energy signature. And so it
mm,
makes sense that when you felt that energy and you brought that in as a group, that you had that kind of profound feeling of being more peaceful and grounded and
mm,
feeling safe because that's
mm,
energy of essentially what angels do. They help you
mm,
feel safe, they ground
mm,
you, and they support you
mm,
unconditionally. So
mm,
it's interesting that you're feeling that we're getting that on a collective level, maybe coming in now.
mm,
So obviously, as you were saying, we've had quite a lot of events recently that have made people quite anxious, particularly around
mm,
Iran and Israel. And
mm,
when I was looking at that, there's actually a very nice timeline to that in the respect that any
mm,
kind of organizations or countries um,
mm,
aren't sort of currently aligned with those feelings that you've just described, those energies, um,
mm, mm,
actually being behind the scenes realigned and dismantled so that those countries can start to have democracies and
mm,
the people will have say in how they want things to look. And so
mm, mm,
move into a more, in the future, into a more peaceful,
mm,
grounded, and unconditional
mm,
structure within countries. And then, obviously, as that goes out to the world. And
mm,
so, under the Worldwide Military Peace Plan,
mm,
it's, which I've been talking about for some time, which is a military plan, it
mm,
feels like the consciousness of that plan is actually very high to me. It feels
mm,
like the intention of that plan is to help everyone to feel exactly as you've just described,
mm,
safe and calm and anchored in.
mm,
And another interesting thing that we talked about before we came on was how there's been kind of, of a shift towards
mm,
Christianity. And
mm,
and um, and you were saying, and I also believe the same, that we don't look to an outward deity to
mm,
feel connected to any kind of energy, whether you want to call that God or angels. What you
mm,
do is you develop your own inner structure so that you become that energy yourself. And
mm,
so we were saying that there's been this shift towards Christianity, and you mentioned Russell Brand and Candace Owens in particular,
mm,
because we all know those names.
mm,
What I think that is, and as I was saying to you before we came on, is I
mm,
think that those people don't necessarily know the terms of, say, Christ consciousness or angelic
mm.
light. And
Yes.
I think that's what they're trying to find. So
Mm,
um, if you follow the teachings of Jesus, not necessarily the religion or Christianity, but the essence of what Jesus represents,
mm,
then for us, we might call that Christ consciousness, and we feel that as an energy. And
yes.
I think what the collective are doing,
Mm,
this is why we might be seeing a surge towards Christianity, is because
mm,
they don't know what that label is. They don't know that there's something called maybe Christ consciousness or
mm,
God consciousness or angelic
yes.
light. And
Mm,
their instinct is being drawn to find that energy. And that's the only terms or words or vehicle that they understand in this moment. What
mm.
do you think about that, Michael? Do you think that that might be the case?
I definitely would align with that because it feels like the energies that are coming in, um, that feel golden, yeah, that we talked about, they feel like that, you know, it's funny, like we talked a little bit about Iran, and I did a little bit of Googling researchy stuff around Iran when it all kicked off in the media. And because I did a little transmission around just supporting the energies. And in the area above Iran is a Stargate 10,
Wow.
uh, and chakra 10, 10th chakra above the head is the Christ consciousness chakra.
Wow.
So it feels like or the 5D consciousness, if you will. Yeah. So it feels like there's no mistake that this is all playing out now in, I mean, I think there's got things going on at different levels. There's what we see in the news, then there's the other information that's out and current that you're exposed to, a new channel, and then there's also, I feel, the um interdimensional play going on as well for that Stargate. So it feels like if it's got that Stargate is shift, also feels like it's shifting. What do you want to call it? Like shifting. Who supports it? Yeah. If you think about different colored hats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yes, I was getting strongly that the white hats uh,
Mm,
have actually got quite a foothold in Iran
mm,
behind the scenes. And
mm,
that obviously what's happening now is the disclosure part to the public. But I think behind the scenes, a lot of
mm,
work has already occurred. And
mm,
they also said to me that in the future, a female would lead in Iran and
mm,
also in the other military regions.
mm, mm, mm,
They're saying that when we see leaders in places that we didn't expect that are female, like say
mm,
Iran or maybe North Korea,
mm,
places that historically have not had female roles, we
mm,
they were explaining to me that that was
mm,
the signal when at
mm,
the same time we have female leaders in those regions
mm,
that we are entering the era of peace, which a
mm,
lot religious texts and
mm,
philosophical texts talk about the golden
mm, mm,
age.
mm,
So that was very interesting. And I was getting a timeline of 3 to 5 years for an Iranian female lead, whether
mm,
they're called that a leader or whatever
mm,
title that might be. I don't know. It might be ambassador.
mm, mm, mm,
I don't know. Um,
mm,
3 to 5 years for a whole regime to turn around is that's been there all this time is going to be pretty exciting to see.
mm,
And so I think you're right that the Stargate was the start of disclosing that to the public. I think that the foundations of that are already in place,
mm.
many levels,
Okay.
political,
Mm,
financial, etc. And now
mm.
it's about realigning the understanding for the people of what's happening.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's very interesting that you looked that up and saw that that is the chakra of the Christ consciousness. Uh,
Yeah.
so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about today was that obviously if we're going to be seeing female leaders coming into areas where previously it had only been ruled under male domination, Uh,
Mm,
and that would suggest that we're moving more into the divine feminine. We're getting
mm,
balanced.
mm.
And I just wondered if you had any feelings or channelings around the divine feminine integration. Not that I'm trying to put any pressure on your guides today, but your your light language is always very powerful.
Well, thank you.
I do listen to you quite often, especially when I'm overwhelmed with energy.
Mm,
Sometimes your light language hits just at the right time. It's like
mm,
medicine for the soul. So thank you for
mm.
that. Uh,
Thanks, Mona.
but I wondered if you feel like there's any light language that's available to us today that might be able to integrate this um,
Sure.
polarity between what looks like a war situation is
Mm,
actually something much brighter and positive than we
mm,
may be able to see immediately with on the news or in the
mm,
things we hear around us.
mm.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a whirl.
Oh, honestly, Michael, I put you on the spot every time, so surprised you
But I
come
just
back.
want one thing one one thing I will say, which is before I do that, was that uh, that it feels like I feel like there may be something to do with I know we've done stuff around Lemuria before together.
Yes.
Um, which is the divine feminine, of course, and where Atlantis would be more the divine masculine, if you will. Um, and something I did online with a colleague over the solstice was really working with those two energies and aligning those two timelines. And I do feel what's going on with, say, um, these war experiences, if you want to say that, is that it is illicit. It's also, as well as the collective needing to experience a certain unfoldment. Um, there's also, it feels it's a chance in this year of the snake and the shedding and the releasing to release some of these core Armageddon timeline cellular consciousness wounds. So it sort of feels like as these things erupt or potentially erupt, it brings up what is necessary in people's Akashic records in the DNA to release these old traumas so that they can be part of this new piece that we're talking about.
Mm.
So it's kind of a bit of a trigger point intentionally as well, I feel, to spiritually so that people get to have a certain experience which allows them to shed something
Yeah,
so that they get to reframe it in their consciousness, if you will. You know what I mean?
a nice way of describing it because you when I used to teach in groups, I used to
Yeah.
people bringing in the angelic light.
Mm,
What would happen is, and it was always the same week, maybe one or 2 weeks after when they because we would
mm,
a 6 week course once a
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Week two or week three, everybody would come in with a cold or a virus,
Oh, yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used to say to them, and it was as regular as clockwork, Michael, that that would happen. And I would
Mm,
explain to them, it's
mm,
because what's happening is you've brought in this clean light, this scattering
mm,
light, this high
yeah.
frequency. It's
Yeah.
pushing out everything you don't need. And so you're going
Yeah.
through a time of cleanse, which can look like a cold or a virus or a flu. And
Mm,
and like you were saying, I think some of these timelines are intentionally placed, these stories are placed
mm, mm,
so that people open up so they can bring in this light and clean everything out, like you were saying, so we have a nice clean slate to move forward.
mm, mm.
I truly believe that this is a clearing when
Yeah.
these events
And
happen.
it's interesting that it was so timed with that massive influx of light from the solstice as well. So it feels almost like it was intentional
Yeah.
that it at that time period, so it had a lot of spiritual umph to kind of really shift through the collective field and
Another um
create a different experience. Yeah.
I agree. And something else, sorry to interrupt you,
No, no, go, go. Yeah.
else that you said before we came on, which I
Mm,
resonate with very strongly, is
mm,
you were saying that the crystals of Atlantis were activating and coming, and that energy was coming up through more strongly now. And
mm,
of course,
mm,
before we've had that heavy matrix across it that's been
mm,
holding it down, that
mm,
dark hat, evil
mm,
of stopping the light. And I feel
mm,
like that's gone. It's almost like it's been sucked out of the ley lines and the energy
mm,
fields. And
mm,
now the old energies of Atlantis and those crystals, I can actually
mm,
feel it coming. I can see it actually coming up to the
mm,
surface,
mm,
actually coming up and through. Whereas
mm,
before it was kind of held down, it was
mm,
suppressed. So I
mm.
do resonate with that a lot. And I feel
No,
like
thank you.
it's
Mm.
another big change that we've had now that you've mentioned it as well.
So it feels so that's what we were saying before, hey, that there's the massive light coming in, and then there's also the earth releasing or letting stuff crystals been allowed to resonate up through maybe that had sort of blocks on it before. And so I think that's why people are going through such a big um shift in themselves as all of this happens. But we can do that piece if you want. We can try and do that piece now
I was just
around.
say
divine plan.
why you're just positioning yourself to do that, but that's why we're
Yeah.
in the channelings that they give me, the spiritual channelings, they talk about
Mm,
like you and me as the filaments of light,
mm,
literally are holding that heaven and earth template in place for
mm.
um,
Yeah.
people that work with us.
Yeah.
That's why we're called the nodes of the matrix, because we're helping those two energies to come up and in
Mm,
this
mm,
existence.
mm,
And as you were saying, it can create in people, as you before you came on, you were saying that it can create a lot of overwhelm and
mm,
exhaustion because we're doing
mm,
quite a lot of energetic work.
mm,
But it's interesting that that you're feeling that very strongly right now, because I was talking to somebody yesterday that
mm,
who talks in terms of quantum equations,
mm,
and they were explaining about this golden energetic light, but in
mm.
terms of frequency in quantum terms, like hertz. And
Yes.
they were saying that they knew the frequency of the crown chakra in line
Mm,
with that energy that you've just described as golden light. So we're
mm,
now
mm,
finding, or I'm finding in the in the work that I'm doing and with the different people I mix with, that
mm,
the science and the spiritual aspects are now starting to become very coherent.
mm,
And like as I was saying to you before we came on, I've
mm,
been on LinkedIn for about 4 years. And when
mm.
I first was on LinkedIn, if you had mentioned about a crystal or anything to do with energy, you would have people actually complaining about this is a professional website. Why are
Yeah.
people talking about consciousness or crystals?
Yeah,
But what
yeah, yeah.
I've seen is a very big shift now towards company owners, directors, CEOs
Mm,
actually adopting those words and using those techniques in their management style. So we've
yes.
got a huge shift, even on something like LinkedIn. So the evidence is there that we are going forward, because sometimes I know you and me, Michael, have said to each other
Mm.
sometimes, it's like overwhelming. You're like, wake up in the morning and you're tired before you even start the day. Um, we're holding so much frequency.
But
Um,
I think, yeah, I was just going to say quickly that so and that's why I think because we have held the frequency, we have been diligent, we have kept going, we have worked with people to help them stabilize and strengthen their spiritual energy and their conduit, and so I feel like that we've hit this level now where there's enough of us on the earth that is having an impact on other communities
yeah,
just by our beingness and the energies that are here. And so, and also just quickly around the Atlantean crystal stuff, I think many of us came back from those timelines to sort of support an ascension process on this timeline. And so as these crystals are activated and brought through, I think that also strengthens our knowing and maybe our gifts are coming back, whether they're a Lemurian or Atlantean. And so I feel like there's the energies coming in from above that are sort of uh, supporting us to uplift our vibration. And then there's also the underneath remembrance, I guess, of where we've timelines where we've been on the earth before and the roles we've played. So I feel like it's all hitting us at once to try and um, bring us online, if you will, to be these support systems for the shift in the consciousness of the planet. Um, it's pretty exciting and exhausting. Yeah.
in the past, I've been shown that I actually was in Atlantis as a Margie.
Oh,
Margie is like somebody that can work with energy, as in magician
oh
Margie.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so Atlantis always resonates with me quite strongly, particularly when I
Mm,
read about what Atlantis was like, and I feel
mm,
like maybe that is true, that's where one of
mm.
at least one of the lifetimes that I've had in the past. Lemuria, I don't have such a strong
Oh, okay.
towards
Sure, sure,
Lemuria, but when you
sure,
said
sure.
that Atlantis is divine masculine and Lemuria is divine feminine, maybe I'm supposed to hold the energy of divine masculine more strongly. I don't know. What do you think about that? Would that be wise?
Well, like as you taught, well, because of the work you're doing, like you are, from what I see, just my perspective, is that you're channeling complex technical information. So it is calling on your magi aspect, I feel, because you had because I mean we've laughed sometimes about you saying, I can't believe I'm channeling this stuff. I didn't think I'd be doing this stuff,
Yes,
but you're
exactly.
very competent at bringing through this very highly technical information. So I feel that that is a little bit in divine masculine energy. Um, and also, I feel like your role in at this point is connecting with. I feel like you're holding the balance because you're connecting with the masculine energies to support their shift.
Yes.
So you have to be able to access your divine masculine to um, work with them, in a way that shifts them,
Makes sense because the information obviously around, say, the military,
Mm,
Space Force, government is in the past been seen as, I suppose, fairly masculine, autocratic, um, probably not necessarily seen as um, something of Christ consciousness, for example. But I
yeah.
think that um, maybe I don't know for sure, but maybe the role that I've had or am having is to
Mm,
maybe help um, these more structured organizations to move more into the flow of divine feminine, divine masculine, Christ
mm,
consciousness, God consciousness, whatever
mm.
whatever label you want to give it. But it's
Sure,
about
sure.
merging
Mm,
structures that have in the past been seen as quite rigid in thinking, a bit like
mm.
the LinkedIn
Yeah,
example I gave,
yeah, 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 yeah.
is quite autocratic and structured and
Mm,
linear in thought process. And maybe
mm,
what's happening now is those governments and military and those organizations that in the past have been
mm,
uh, um, linear in their thinking are now
mm,
learning that there are other energies and other ways to flow in
mm,
terms
mm,
of managing
mm,
countries, um,
mm,
companies,
mm,
organizations. So
mm.
maybe that in some respects that might have been a role that I've been holding. I don't know for sure, but it's
Mm.
merging two concepts, a bit like
Yeah.
when I talk about politics and you talk about light language, and we merge together on these
Mm.
podcasts.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
it helps perhaps people that may only think about politics uh,
Yes.
to hear and understand new words and reframe things
Mm.
like energy and
Mm.
to be more open to it, you know.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
it's like a marrying together of
Mm.
used to be like
Mm.
on the LinkedIn example, people
Mm.
used to see that as two separate entities.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and more and more now, what I'm seeing in my work
Mm.
is that it's starting to merge together. And
Mm.
so when you're thinking of military constructs, now
Yes.
with Christ consciousness, I mean,
Mm.
just it's just a huge leap. It's a
Mm.
huge leap. And that's why I believe that we're going into a worldwide military peace plan. I don't
Mm.
think war is the future because the consciousness of those
Mm.
leaders, countries,
Mm.
organizations is now
Mm.
merging with what
Mm.
you and I have been holding for all this time.
Mm.
And
Mm.
maybe that's been the reason why I was drawn to to work with politics, which if you'd said that to me, 4 or 5 years ago, and we've talked
mm,
about this a lot of times, I would,
yeah,
no, that's not really what I need to be doing.
mm,
But now I can see, now with this far in, I can see perhaps how
mm,
that needed to happen so that
mm.
the two factions can come together and merge.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And just a deep respect for your the role you hold, really, the real role you hold, and the tenacity to not give up in stressful times at times.
But, as
Yeah.
I said,
Mm,
we're all playing a role, and
mm,
uh,
mm,
it's interesting that we've met as friends because,
mm,
as I was saying before we came on, um,
mm,
often when
mm,
it's been overwhelming for me in
mm.
what I'm doing, you'll pop up on my feed,
Mm.
particularly the time zone difference. It always
Yeah, yeah,
happens at exactly the right time. I'm starting my day.
yeah.
I might, and I might be thinking, yeah, how am I going to get through today? And then a very lovely light language session comes up from you. So,
Yeah.
whoever you're working with, uh,
Okay.
channeling, that energy
Mm.
resonates with me very strongly.
I feel like I don't, sometimes I do bring through certain frequencies of beings, if you will. But more and more, I feel that really the people sometimes do like an ascended master name or Jeshua or um, a certain galactic race, for example. But I feel more and more that really it's just source code. It's source code cut step down from different energies. So really, it's just for integration and for people to absorb into their energy field or into their feeling body or into their mind, however their senses work, and just let it wash over them and um release what needs to be released and maybe have a drink of water afterwards, but just do what you do with it. Some people resonate with it, some people don't, and I've got no attachment to it being for everybody. Um, uh, it works for me. It works for me because I feel like I've had it. It came through naturally, and it's something that my soul knows from other times, I'm guessing. And it really gets out of the cognitive mind because it's a lot of sound that makes no sense to the auditory ear.
Yeah.
So it bypasses the mind, the normal mind. So you just have to listen to it. So
Yeah.
we can do something if you feel to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yes. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to
So
it.
something about the divine feminine. Yeah. Is that what you
Well,
feel?
if that's what you're drawn to do, you just you're the vessel for the communication. So whatever you feel,
No, I feel like we'll just do a little um guided piece. Like we can close and I feel like let's just so when I do a guided piece, we just I feel like we need to like go to Iran, yeah, as soon as that was mentioned today. It feels important.
yeah,
Um I'll work with this crystal, which is because I love crystals. So this crystal is a Merkaba. So this is
yeah,
like this is your light body transporter, if you will. So if you so this is if you're Doctor Who, this would be your TARDIS, yeah? Traveling through space and time. So we've got our physical body and then we've got our energetic body. And so we're going to imagine energetically that we transfer our beingness, our soul, our light, our consciousness to Iran. And so we can do that now. So we're just imagining that we're still sitting at home in our cozy, safe space. You're feeling grounded in your pelvis, grounded into the earth. You can put two threads of light or two streams of or two cords from the soles of your feet down into the earth. Just bringing your energy down through the soles of your feet into the earth. so that you feel really anchored into the earth before we begin this little bit of energy work. And as you anchor through your feet, you're feeling settled in your spine, in your body. You're feeling soft and you're feeling anchored through yourself. So you're feeling that you can open your, there's like, you've got your seven chakras, you've got your crown chakra in the physical body at the top, and then you've got chakras above, 8 to 12. And we're just imagining that there's a line of energy of golden light going, streaming down from your 12th chakra all the way to your base chakra and then through your feet. And this gold anchors through into the earth. So there you are. You are the node. You are the golden light of the Christ consciousness, if you will. And then in front of you in your room, you can imagine this beautiful pink Merkaba, the shape of the crystal I showed you a few minutes ago. And it's about the size of your energetic body, your physical body. And we're going to hop into this pink Merkaba. So it's pink Merkaba because it is the divine feminine aspect. And it has been overlighted by the divine feminine, in this case, the energy of Lady Nada, an ascended master. And she is overlighting this little meditation. And as we enter into this pink Merkaba, like light ship, if you will, we're going to be transported now to the center of Iran in our consciousness, in our pink light ship. So just allow that to be in your visual, in your knowing, in your sense of, as I work with this light language and transport us to that grid point of Iran right now. And we see ourselves all gathered as a group now in Iran, in a circle, and in the center of the circle is this pink Merkaba. It is a pink divine feminine Merkaba, and it starts to rotate, and all this streaming pink light comes out of this Merkaba. This is the intention of our souls unifying in this moment as a collective field of consciousness, supporting this shift in the land and the people of Iran. And as this pink streams out of the Merkaba, it moves into each of our hearts. And this pink pulsating light moves through our hearts, down the palms of our hands, and down our arms and into the palms of our hands. And we place our palms on the earth. On the palms on the earth. And as this pink goes into the earth, it brings through pink light into all of the grids. See it streaming through the grids. And so it runs under the caverns of Iran, the grids of Iran. It's creating this beautiful, peaceful energy, calming, soothing the hearts of the people in Iran. And as they walk on this land, as they walk on the earth, they feel this pink energy and it comes up into their energy field. It touches their hearts. And you see that each of the hearts of the people of Iran, whether they be male or female, are touched with this pink light. And it offers a softness, a peace, and a stillness, and a potential for a new beginning to emerge, filled with hope, filled with honoring of each other, and deep, deep sense of safety. Feel that in your own light body, feel that in your own mind and consciousness, as we have all shifted in this moment. So, in this expanded field of light, we are now been uh, given access to the pink Merkaba once again. Each of us individually is transported back to our individual physical bodies where we began this meditation. So we are anchored back through into the physical, merging matter and energy, or spiritual light, if you will, filling our hearts full of pink energy, of this beautiful heart frequency that we've worked with, gifted us through us from Lady Nada and the divine feminine essence. And so when you're ready, you can bring yourself slowly back, anchoring in through your feet, feeling your wiggling your toes and your fingers if you feel to, but taking as long as you need to come back into your body and into the space.
Wow. So that was very powerful. So what I experienced, Michael, was when I arrived in Iran,
Mm,
I actually saw that the people of Iran are actually very high vibrational. The
mm,
populace in general has a very
mm,
vibration. And then I saw above it a darker cloud of the regime,
mm.
or the disappearing regime, I should say.
Yes.
And as we merged into the central point, the Merkaba, with
Mm,
the pink energy,
yeah. Yeah.
divine feminine, it started like a kind of tornado. It was swirling round, and as it swirled, it got bigger, and it
Mm.
took out
Yeah.
that was still left.
Wow.
I was seeing was that darkness has not got much foothold now.
Mm.
It feels like that's an
Interesting.
old timeline that they're still telling us on the news and things. And
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
on the ground in Iran,
Yes.
they're actually further forward than we think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. I hope that everybody got something from that. And if you did, please put something in the comments below. It's always nice to let Michael know what you find helps you, because Michael works very hard. He helps a lot of people energetically, and it's nice to hear how it affects people. Um, just on that note, Michael, you're doing
Mm.
you have a website called magiccollective.com.
Soul
and
Magic Collective. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and coming up, you're going to be talking about how Uranus is going into Gemini, and that's going to be on the website soon. And you
Yeah, yeah,
do private sessions, and
yeah.
see you do healings like this for
Yes,
groups.
yes, yes. My online work is I do Akashic clearing and past timeline clearing so that people can move more into their empowerment and their spiritual gifts. The group work is also about clearings and releasing people from timelines, working with the land, working with the crystals with crystal technology, working with different ascended master energies to really support people's ascending in consciousness and releasing blocks and restrictions from their path. I'll be doing and most of my groups are in person and online at the same time because I feel like the uh, in-person energy really anchors into the everybody into the space, and then but everybody that's watching online can also feel that too. So it really is a powerful experience. So if you feel resonant, you can check out my work for sure, or add me on Facebook or whatnot. Yeah.
I also see that you're doing a Lionsgate workshop soon as well. So, um, you've got a lot going on. So I hope people will come over and look at your website. And you're also
Yes.
obviously on Facebook. What
Sure.
are you called on Facebook? Are you called Magic Collective?
So there's two. I've got a group page called Soul Magic Collective,
Yeah.
and or they can just add me as me, Michael Muir, on as my profile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Either or. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, I was just feeling into what you were saying around Iran, and and I was just thinking about a couple of interviews I'd seen by Iranians before before the solstice, so before uh, uh, much action had been taken by any country, and they were the sweetest people, very highly intelligent, uh, and yeah, so I feel so that really resonates with me what you said about the majority of the people that live there. Yeah.
Lovely. So it's
Mm.
been so nice to see you again. I always enjoy our little catch ups, even though we have always have a little snag with the time zones, but
Mm.
it's lovely to see you. Uh,
Thank you. And you.
your love and your partner, and hope to see you again very soon, lovely. Okay.
Thank you, Mala. Thank you. See you, Michelle.
No
Take care.